Alright, so these are the answers to the other exercises on this chapter. And this ratio here, the tricky part is that when you multiply 5 times x plus 3, since we have two terms in this numerator, we need to put parentheses around those terms. So it'd be 5 parentheses x plus 3 when we're solving. And then you would distribute, of course, and solve for x. And so these are the answers for the other problems. Notice here, there's two terms in the denominator, so we put parentheses around them and distribute. Okay. Then we're looking at the word problem at the bottom, and they're giving us the total number of students to the number of students that own cars. Right? So the ratio would be the total number of students over those who own cars. So then we're going to say 50 students are the total number of students over 28 who own cars. That's our ratio. And then we're going to make the proportion and say equals. And they're saying, okay, if there's 755 total students, then how many own cars? Right? And so here the units are important. Right here we have students over own cars. They give us total students. So those total students need to go into the numerator. And then we're trying to find out how many of those total students own cars. So we're going to put an x for the unknown. And then we're going to solve this ratio by multiplying the extremes and setting that equal to the means multiplied together. Right? And we find that if there are 755 students, then 422.8 will own cars. So we're moving on to the next page where we have more exercises. Here we have girls in the class, in the sophomore class, and the total number of students. So we have the girls to the total number of students, or we can also write it as girls over total number of students, in which case we'll have this. Over here we have the same thing going on. We have lengths to widths. We could write that as lengths colon widths, or we can write it as lengths over widths. So over here, they give us the ratio as 8 to 15 to 17 as the sides of the triangle. So if we draw out that triangle here, we can go ahead and rewrite the sides as 8x, 15x, and 17x. And we know that the total perimeter is 480. So if we go ahead and add up all the lengths of the sides, we set it to 480 and solve for x. But again, we're asked for the length of each side of the triangle, not x. So we're going to plug 12 into 8. So 8 times 12 is 96. 15 times 12 is 180. And then 17 times 12 is 240. And then we're going to do the same thing here, except this is not the sides of the triangle. This ratio is the measure of the angles of the triangle. So we set that equal to 180. We solve for x, plug back in to get the measure of the angles. Right? These ones down here is pretty simple. We just multiply the means and extremes, right? And the only thing that you need to worry about is if the numerator or denominator has two terms, then we need to put parentheses around them when we solve and distribute. Here we have 3 DVDs, and we have the cost. So we could write the ratio as cost over the number of DVDs. And we're going to set that equal to the cost for one DVD. Right. So if we go ahead and plug that in, we have the cost is 44.85 over 3 is equal to x over 1. And then we cross multiply, and we find that the cost for one DVD is $14.95. Over here we have the same thing going on. We have 25 plants, and 15 of them are small. And he's saying, okay, well, if we have 4,000 plants, then how many of them are going to be small? So our ratio is total plants over small plants. And so we say 25 over 15 is equal to 4,000 plants over x, the number of small plants we don't know. Right? And just notice here that the total plants are in the numerators, and then the small plants are in the denominators. And then we cross multiply, and we find that if there are 4,000 plants in the field, and they follow the same ratio as the plants that he measured earlier, then 2,400 of those plants will be small plants.